engagement with Caribbean leaders. Prime Minister Holness and Vice President Harris also spoke to progress being made on joint U.S. Caribbean committees that were set up in June. The committees are currently looking at short-term solutions for food and energy security, as well as finance challenges confronting the region. During the call with Mr. Holness, Vice President Harris also congratulated Jamaica on its 60th anniversary of independence.
Knowing such crucial to focus exclusively on the lower middle and affordable and lowest income.
At Jamaica House Thursday, the Prime Minister called for political consensus to deal with crime on the island. Mr. Holness made the plea at the public presentation of the National Commission on Violence Prevention. He said that while attempts were being made to establish a framework for cooperation through the Crime Monitoring Oversight Committee, no genuine consensus had yet been reached. Prime Minister Holness expressed hope that the Independent Commission would bring together the views of the political class, coupled with factual data, to implement long-lasting measures to secure Jamaica.
There are some things that you can put in law, but governments change and the priority for enforcement can change. Right? So, but you need to have consensus. And once you have that underpinning consensus, then you can really make the change. So I'm using this platform to say to our counterparts in the opposition that let us create a space in which the treatment of violence is not contested politically. I'm confident that this small investment will be repaid multiple times over by their contribution and what they will do for their country.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness, as he handed over the 84th dwelling under the new social housing program NSHP at Guys Hill in St. Catherine. The 3-bedroom unit was delivered to 17-year-old Delano Tucker and his family. Young Delano came to national attention earlier this year when a YouTube video showing how he managed to cop 9 CXC subjects while living in dark conditions went viral. While in Guys Hill, the Prime Minister announced that going forward, NSHP recipients will be required to sign a social contract. The social contract includes beneficiaries becoming ambassadors of the program. Recipients must also agree to take care of the houses, keep the units within the family even after the beneficiaries have passed, ensure that no violence takes place within the homes, and participate in community life.
The program will develop its own monitoring mechanisms where we will be tracking those persons who have benefited to see exactly how they have utilized this house to change their lives and that of the community. This is not free, and you are going to pay for it by being good examples and good citizens.
By Friday, the Prime Minister was in Hanover, where he handed over 63 units provided by the National Housing Trust NHT. The Industry Cove Manor development, located in Green Island, consists of 23 detached 2-bedrooms and 42-bedroom townhouses on 12.5 acres of land. Mr. Holness revealed that 2 other NHT developments will bring 1,235 units to the parish. He also announced that legislation aimed at managing gated communities would soon go before Cabinet. The Gated Communities Act is reportedly in the final stages of being drafted.
That will give a little bit more control over communities like these. Communities like these, the value is only preserved if each homeowner preserves the value of their property. So I'm urging you, abide by the rules set by the community organization.
Before that, the Prime Minister unveiled a life-size statue of Hanover native, national hero and the island's first Prime Minister, Sir Alexander Bustamante, at the Parish Library. The statue and 2 storyboards were erected at a cost of $3 million, courtesy of the Tourism Product Development Company.
This monument provides an opportunity for the local community members and other Jamaican citizens and visitors to the island to learn and appreciate the first Prime Minister of Independence and our national hero.
Back in the corporate area Saturday, the Prime Minister participated in the Kingston leg of Discover Jamaica on bike. The event was staged as part of activities to mark Jamaica 60 and involved participants biking from Knotswood Boulevard in the capital to Holiday Inn in the second city. Earlier in the week, the Prime Minister held talks with the Chinese ambassador to Jamaica. The two spoke of increasing the engagement between their countries. Mr. Holness also welcomed a courtesy call paid by Professor Tony Green to discuss intervention and support for the education system and national security. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, August 22, 2022. The Bank of Jamaica, BOJ, has increased its policy interest rate on deposit-taking institutions' overnight balances by 50 basis points to maintain control on the liquidity of Jamaica's currency while awaiting a return to normal and sustained inflation levels. The new interest rate of 6% took effect on August 19. BOJ Governor Richard Biles explained the decision at the bank's quarterly media briefing on Friday.
This current decision has resulted in a cumulative increase in the policy rate of 550 basis points since October 2021 and has taken the policy rate to a level that the committee considers appropriate.
The central bank governor says he's encouraged by a trending down of the inflation levels since it peaked at 11.8% in April, but cautions that conditions have not sufficiently solidified to ensure this downward path towards the institution's 4 to 6% target range is sustainable. The new 6% policy interest rate is expected to make savings in Jamaican dollars more attractive and limit the ability of businesses to pass on price increases to consumers. Mr. Biles says the BOJ's Monetary and Policy Committee also continues to pursue other measures to contain Jamaican dollar liquidity expansion and maintain relative foreign exchange market stability. 6 families in St. Anne are now benefiting from homes courtesy of the new social housing program, NSHP. The houses were handed over in ceremonies held across the parish on Friday in communities such as Cave Valley, Bamboo, Sturgetown, Goshen, and Retirement. Prime Minister Andrew Holness reiterated government's pledge to uphold accountability standards in issuing NSHP units.
Part of the fairness is to ensure that there is no corruption, that the projects operate on time, that they follow the procurement guidelines, that all the funds are accountable, and that the beneficiaries are deserving. All right? So that gives hope.
Recipients included Jennifer Finnegan, whose home was gutted by fire.
Words can't express how much I'm grateful to you and everyone who has helped me through my difficult times. I love you all.
Hundreds of Jamaicans in communities across the island will continue to benefit from free screening for non-communicable diseases, NCDs, such as breast and prostate cancers, hypertension, heart disease, and diabetes. This follows the signing of contracts valued at $45 million by the National Health Fund, NHF, and the Jamaica Cancer Society, the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, and the Diabetes Association of Jamaica. Chief Executive Officer of the NHF, Everton Anderson, says the contracts provide for ready access to screening services at various health interventions. This is in keeping with the entity's community outreach to promote healthier lifestyle and early detection of NCDs. Mr. Anderson points out that community health fairs, which had to be paused due to the COVID-19 pandemic, have resumed and will be a vehicle for these free screenings. The National Council on Drug Abuse, NCDA, is ramping up interventions to steer young people away from harmful substances. Substance Abuse Officer for the NCDA's Eastern Region, Marisha Burgess, tells JIS News that activities are targeted at youth deemed at risk who are not in school or training. She says community interventions, including prevention, treatment, and sensitization programs, are being undertaken in partnership with the Social Development Commission, SDC. Ms. Burgess says there has been an increase in the abuse of substances during the COVID-19 pandemic, and the support being provided by the NCDA aims to help persons quit while equipping them with the skills to make healthy life decisions. The intervention also involves setting up support groups where parents who have children who are substance users can benefit from help and knowledge about how to treat with situations that arise within the home. And finally, the Registrar General's Department, RGD, has launched an online wedding registry schedule service as it continues its digitization process. Customers will now be able to apply for, schedule, and pay for weddings that will be done at various RGD locations. Minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister, Floyd Green, says the new service will help to reduce customer traffic at the RGD locations.
Additionally, things that would cost people money to travel to locations, right? Time to go through the process at locations, again, they can now do instantaneously at their home.
He also revealed that there would be a reintroduction of online delivery service to provide access to customers that are living in rural areas.
And what is being contemplated now is that the RGD is going to move in a direction where we have free Wi-Fi available at our locations.
Additionally, the agency will provide self-service kiosks for faster service and to further assist with reducing the customer load in offices. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Prime Minister delivers 2 more NSHP houses, welcomes Rock Hotel for Kingston waterfront, and tours Chapelton Community Hospital. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Anthony Morgan.
We're opening this hotel, and I am here endorsing it and celebrating with you because it means more employment. It means more income in people's pockets. It means the return of life in downtown Kingston, where more economic activity can take place.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness as he officially opened the Rock Hotel on the Kingston waterfront last Tuesday. The 12-story complex is a mixed-use building developed by Panjam Investments and Hilton Tapestry Collection. It includes a 4-star, 168-room hotel, as well as residential units to be sold to individual investors. Prime Minister Holness says the hotel aligns with government's ongoing upgrade of the Kingston waterfront. Other developments include the newly opened Ministry of Foreign Affairs complex and the completion of the Port Royal revetment project, which will serve as the base of a boardwalk to be constructed. A World Bank-funded project will also see to the creation of a master plan for the area to include parks, residential and commercial spaces. The new Houses of Parliament project and upgrading of SWE network are also in train.
To others who are listening who are considering investing in downtown Kingston, now is the time to do it. The government is a strong and determined partner in the development of downtown Kingston.
On Wednesday, the Prime Minister was in North Central Clarendon, where he handed over 2 dwellings under the new social housing program NSHP. 87-year-old Lillian Winter of Woodhall received a 3-bedroom unit worth $7 million. And 57-year-old Trout Hall resident Albert Logan received a $4 million 1-bedroom house.
So if rain fall for the whole week, I'm feeling it and I cry. I cry and say, God, one day if the MP member about me, one day if the Prime Minister member, one day if the people remember about me. But I look and I really thank you, and I say, bless him, bless him.
I'm sure that everyone watching this would be of the view that no Jamaican should be living in this standard. And so the government has a duty to intervene. The government has a duty to provide housing, social housing. You may not be able to pay for it, but the standard of our society should be that no Jamaican should be living like this.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Andrew Holness is refuting criticisms of inefficiency with NSHP's current development model. The Prime Minister asserts that what some may see as the ad hoc distribution of singular dwellings in various communities is a reflection of how dispersed the need is, with the problem of substandard housing not centralized to any one area. He says it is therefore incumbent on the government to meet the people where they are.
The issue is that the beneficiaries, who need these houses, are not all in one place in Jamaica. They're all over. They are not all in urban places on flatland where you could say, all right, I found 5 acres of land, I will build a housing scheme there. So the fundamentals of social housing sometimes do require us to bring the solutions to the people.
And as he handed over NSHP houses, Prime Minister Holness revealed that the 2022 National Population and Housing Census would capture data on the number of Jamaicans living in substandard dwellings. Mr. Holness says the information will allow the state to expand the impact of the social housing program to 600 units per year.
So that we get an idea of what the budget should be to help the most vulnerable in the society.
The Prime Minister says submissions from members of Parliament show that about 6,000 households are living in substandard conditions, while another 10,000 persons need social housing intervention.
No matter how poor the country is, there must be a certain standard of shelter that every Jamaican is entitled to.
And while in North Central Clarendon, Prime Minister Holness toured works being undertaken to upgrade the Chapelton Community Hospital. The facility, which serves communities such as Rock River, Mulitall, Pennance, Frankfield and Crooked River, is expected to be completed by October. Upgrades are being done in 2 phases. Phase 1 was supported by diaspora member Beverly Nichols, who disbursed $1 million through her Push Start Foundation. Phase 2 is being done at a cost of $112 million through financing from the National Health Fund and the Chase Fund. When both phases are finalized, the hospital will have a new operating theatre and laboratory, space to hold 30 hospital beds, expanded office areas for doctors, waiting rooms, and improved water storage facility. Back in Kingston Wednesday, the Prime Minister met with finalists of the National Nurse and Nursing Student of the Year Awards competition. The annual contest is put on by the Nurses Association of Jamaica in partnership with Laskochin Foundation. At Friday's award ceremony, registered nurse midwife Alicia Adamson walked away with the coveted Nurse of the Year award for 2022-2023. Brownstown Community College student LaDaniel Campbell secured the Nursing Student of the Year prize. And as Jamaica competed in the 2022 staging of the World Athletics Championships, Prime Minister Holness lauded the island's athletes for their stellar performance. The event, hosted in the U.S. state of Oregon, saw Jamaica finishing 3rd on the medal table, securing 10 medals from the meet. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more news stories coming out of the Office of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister launches 15th Population and Housing Census. calls for political consensus on crime, and hands over houses in St. Catherine and Hanover. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Anthony Morgan. At the start of the week, Prime Minister Andrew Holness welcomed news that the United States government would be providing $2 million to set up a cyber center of excellence on the island. The center, which will also serve the wider Caribbean region, was discussed during a telephone conversation between the Prime Minister and U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris. The call was part of the Biden-Harris administration's ongoing efforts to increase engagement with Caribbean leaders. Prime Minister Holness and Vice President Harris also spoke to progress being made on joint U.S. Caribbean committees that were set up in June. The committees are currently looking at short-term solutions for food and energy security, as well as finance challenges confronting the region. During the call with Mr. Holness, Vice President Harris also congratulated Jamaica on its 60th anniversary of independence.
Knowing such crucial information is very important to all sectors when it comes to planning and implementation of socio-economic policies that help in the development process.
The crucial information is data on Jamaica's population size, living conditions, migration patterns, economic activity, and other demographics. Prime Minister Andrew Holness addressed the importance of this data collection as he launched the island's 15th population and housing census last Wednesday. Data collection for this year's census will run from September 12 to December 31, under the theme You Count, Me Count, All We Count. $2.4 billion has been set aside for the exercise, which will be administered by over 7,000 census takers. Wednesday also saw the Prime Minister breaking ground for 30 luxury villas at Villa Ranai in Stony Hill by Pulse Homes. He used the opportunity to call on more private developers to join in government's push to create 70,000 affordable houses.
So we are going to depend on the private sector to fill in the other 70,000 that may be necessary. But the question is, which 70,000? So we have said to the NHD, you have to shift your focus away from the middle and high end to focus exclusively on the lower middle and affordable and lowest income.
At Jamaica House Thursday, the Prime Minister called for political consensus to deal with crime on the island. Mr. Holness made the plea at the public presentation of the National Commission on Violence Prevention. He said that while attempts were being made to establish a framework for cooperation through the Crime Monitoring Oversight Committee, no genuine consensus had yet been reached. Prime Minister Holness expressed hope that the Independent Commission would bring together the views of the political class, coupled with factual data, to implement long-lasting measures to secure Jamaica.
There are some things that you can put in law, but governments change and the priority for enforcement can change. Right? So, but you need to have consensus. And once you have that underpinning consensus, then you can really make the change. So I'm using this platform to say to our counterparts in the opposition that let us create a space in which the treatment of violence is not contested politically. I'm confident that this small investment will be repaid multiple times over by their contribution and what they will do for their country.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness, as he handed over the 84th dwelling under the new social housing program NSHP at Guys Hill in St. Catherine. The 3-bedroom unit was delivered to 17-year-old Delano Tucker and his family. Young Delano came to national attention earlier this year when a YouTube video showing how he managed to cop 9 CXC subjects while living in dark conditions went viral. While in Guys Hill, the Prime Minister announced that going forward, NSHP recipients will be required to sign a social contract. The social contract includes beneficiaries becoming ambassadors of the program. Recipients must also agree to take care of the houses, keep the units within the family even after the beneficiaries have passed, ensure that no violence takes place within the homes, and participate in community life.
The program will develop its own monitoring mechanisms where we will be tracking those persons who have benefited to see exactly how they have utilized this house to change their lives and that of the community. This is not free, and you are going to pay for it by being good examples
as good citizens.
By Friday, the Prime Minister was in Hanover, where he handed over 63 units provided by the National Housing Trust NHT. The Industry Cove Manor development, located in Green Island, consists of 23 detached 2-bedrooms and 42-bedroom townhouses on 12.5 acres of land. Mr. Holness revealed that 2 other NHT developments will bring 1,235 units to the parish. He also announced that legislation aimed at managing gated communities would soon go before Cabinet. The Gated Communities Act is reportedly in the final stages of being drafted.
That will give a little bit more control over communities like these. Communities like these, the value is only preserved if each homeowner preserves the value of their property. So I'm urging you, abide by the rules set by the community organization.
Before that, the Prime Minister unveiled a life-size statue of Hanover native, national hero and the island's first Prime Minister, Sir Alexander Bustamante, at the parish library. The statue and 2 storyboards were erected at a cost of $3 million, courtesy of the Tourism Product Development Company.
This monument provides an opportunity for the local community members and other Jamaican citizens and visitors to the island to learn and appreciate the first Prime Minister of Independence and our national hero.
Back in the corporate area Saturday, the Prime Minister participated in the Kingston leg of Discover Jamaica on bike. The event was staged as part of activities to mark Jamaica 60 and involved participants biking from Knotswood Boulevard in the capital to Holiday Inn in the second city. Earlier in the week, the Prime Minister held talks with the Chinese ambassador to Jamaica. The two spoke of increasing the engagement between their countries. Mr. Holness also welcomed a courtesy call paid by Professor Tony Green to discuss intervention and support for the education system and national security. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, August 22, 2022. The Bank of Jamaica, BOJ, has increased its policy interest rate on deposit-taking institutions' overnight balances by 50 basis points to maintain control on the liquidity of Jamaica's currency while awaiting a return to normal and sustained inflation levels. The new interest rate of 6% took effect on August 19. BOJ Governor Richard Biles explained the decision at the bank's quarterly media briefing on Friday.
This current decision has resulted in a cumulative increase in the policy rate of 550 basis points since October 2021 and has taken the policy rate to a level that the committee considers appropriate.
The central bank governor says he's encouraged by a trending down of the inflation levels since it peaked at 11.8% in April, but cautions that conditions have not sufficiently solidified to ensure this downward path towards the institution's 4 to 6% target range is sustainable. The new 6% policy interest rate is expected to make savings in Jamaican dollars.
Good morning once again, everyone. Please stand for the arrival of our main speaker, special guest, Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. And ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the playing of the national anthem. That's just the greatest national anthem anywhere in the world. Please remain standing for our invocation to be brought by Mrs. Danny Clark, Justice of the Peace. She is the Senior Technical Coordinator at the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and also Senior Pastor at the Trenchtown Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Let us pray. O Lord our God, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. This morning, God, we come before you with hearts filled with praise and gratitude because you have just been so awesome to us. Lord, this morning we thank you for this wonderful country. We thank you for our leaders. We thank you for those who continue to partner with the government to ensure that your people can have better lives. So God, this morning we present these proceedings before you and ask that everything will go according to your name. We praise you, O God, as creator, and we praise you as the giver of every good gift. So we thank you today for this partnership, and we pray that your blessing will be upon it, we pray. With your dear son's name, amen.
Amen. You may be seated. Good morning and welcome to the banquet hall here at Jamaica House. It's an absolutely beautiful morning. I got up this morning and I saw the sun. There's just something special about this morning. I know it's not my birthday, but it feels nice. It feels good. And so I wish you a warm welcome this morning. The Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Senator, the Honorable Matthew Samuda, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the Honorable Floyd Green, Minister without portfolio here in the Office of the Prime Minister. If I may pause just to give a special welcome to a lady who has served with distinction and honor in the public service and by extension to the people of Jamaica, and newly minted Order of Jamaica, the Honorable Audrey Sewell, OJ, CD, JP, the Permanent Secretary here, not just one ministry, no, but two, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation and the Office of the Prime Minister. Congratulations, PS, and well-deserved. Mrs. Ashley Horn, the Director of ARC Properties Limited, representing the Chairman, Mr. Norman Horn. Mr. Keith Duncan, the President of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica. Mrs. Danny Clark, the Senior Technical Coordinator in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, for prayer this morning. Senior executives of our housing authorities, the National Housing Trust, the Housing Agency of Jamaica, and we also have senior staff members of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, as well as here at the Office of the Prime Minister, and in particular, those from the HOPE Project and the new social housing program. Mr. Keon Hines, Kinetic Engineering Services, stakeholders of financial institutions, the realty, housing, and construction sectors, Ms. Sidoni Eldemar, the beneficiary who is here this morning with us, members of the media, long time when I see you at the banquet hall here. Good morning. Good to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you. Good morning to you. There you go. Okay. I like when I get that good morning back. This morning really represents progress, partnership, and development. We're here this morning to officially witness the signing of a memorandum of understanding for contribution of housing units to the new social housing program. And I think the Prime Minister will go in depth in terms of telling you his vision of the social housing program, and in particular, at every opportunity he gets, talking about the issue of getting housing to people who need it, especially those who really can't do much for themselves, who are the poorest of the poor, and especially getting it to them at a reasonable price. And so this morning really is a historic point in our development, and especially in the housing market in Jamaica. So thank you so much for joining us, for those who are here, and certainly those who are joining us online. And now may I have the Permanent Secretary here at the Office of the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the Honorable Audrey Sewell, who will give us an overview of the program.
Thank you, Naomi, Madam Moderator. And you have already establish the protocols, but permit me to acknowledge the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister, President of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, Mr. Keith Duncan, who I have been privileged to be associated with from a long time in PM. I was telling him that he was under consideration the other day, but he just got cold feet on us because we thought that we could do well with him again in a particular area. This is Ashley Horn, representing Director of ARC and representing the Chairman, Ministers, Green and Samuda, executives from our agencies, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Particularly, we have our two of our CTDs here, CTD Prendergast and Watson, and other specially invited guests. Good morning. I have been asked to give you an overview of the HOPE program. And I keep saying to Mr. Cargill, just stop it now, because I've done it so many times, I'm becoming like a stock record. But for the benefit of those of you who have never heard before, well, this program, the new social housing program, came out of the HOPE program that was conceptualized by the Prime Minister and spoken of by him in Parliament in November 2018. And when it started, it was kicked off with the employment component. So HOPE, H for housing, which is why we are here today. O, opportunity, P, production, and E, employment. HOPE is not just about the new social housing program, because there are other components of the program. Now, specifically, the housing program was conceptualized, developed, and implemented to help persons, particularly the more vulnerable persons in our society who live in subhuman, as we would say, CTD Prendergast conditions, conditions not really suitable for humans. And it has three components. One, single units. So whether the units are 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, or 3 bedrooms. And two, the other component is the big yard, the upgrade of the tenement yard or big yard, whichever one you are more acquainted with, where you have multi-families living in together, again, in conditions that really are not very suitable. And the program upgrades and those housing. So we have one that we did in St. Mary, Anota Bay, I believe, where we built three bedroom houses in a yard that was inhabited by several family members. And the third component has to do with relocation of small communities where, again, people may be living in areas that make them very, very vulnerable, whether through weather conditions or whatever. Some persons build their houses on the edges of gully and all of that. And we are currently in the process of relocating a small community in Western Kingston, and you will hear more about that very soon. We had the launch, and very soon the Prime Minister will tell you more about that one, where we have gone to tender and have already identified a contractor to undertake the works. Now, so far under this program, I'm pleased to inform you that 84 units, 89. Okay, thanks for updating the information. So the housing component started in earnest approximately 2 years ago, because it took us some time to develop the program, to work with the members of parliament, because it's an MP-driven program where members of parliament, each member of parliament is required to, well, provision is made for each member of parliament to recommend 5 beneficiaries per year for the single units, 1 upgrade of tenement yard and 1 relocation annually. And so we have been working with them. Of course, they have to help us to identify lands to build these units and to relocate these persons. And so far, I was told 89 units have been built, or 203 rooms, which benefit 389 individuals across 37 constituencies. I think, Richard, we would have touched all but 2 parishes so far. When I say touch, means that we have gone and handed over the houses. But units are being built in all parishes so far, and we have handed out units to beneficiaries in all but 2 parishes. The program is funded through the government of Jamaica, and we are now in phase 1. We are looking to move into phase 2, where we are strengthening the partnership with the members of parliament, and we have asked them, because we know that in Jamaica, land is always an issue. And I don't want to give too much in terms of that and what is being done, but there is an initiative to identify lands, and one of which is that we have written to the members of parliament. The Prime Minister has written, and who is also the Minister of Economic Growth and Job Creation, has written to members of parliament to ask them to partner with the Ministry of Housing, because government has lands all over the place, to identify these lands and to tell us where they are, that we may go to look to see how we can use those to scale up phase 2 of our program. So we ask that as we move forward, that we will interest other stakeholders to come on board. Recently, the Prime Minister, and this is why we are here this morning, invited the participation of the private sector, because initially the program, we said, okay, let us pilot with the public sector only, and we approached National Housing Trust Chairman. I don't know if they told you. Yes, and we have, we are in discussion, and we have the bag open, Mr. Moore, to receive what thou hast to give to me. Yes, and so, yes, it's mostly public sector driven, but the PM has said, no, private sector, we need to expand this program. We can't do it alone. We need the participation and assistance of the private sector. So here we are this morning to sign this MoU with ARC Manufacturing. They came and they heard the call of the Prime Minister. They took the initiative. They didn't wait for us to come and say, come on board. They took the initiative. They came. I remember Ashley. Yes, they came, they met with us, and we were so excited. We want to thank our legal officer, Mr. Virgo, who worked through the office of the Attorney General's chambers to prepare and finalize the MoU. So we have a legally binding document that we will be signing today. So ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much for coming and for witnessing the kickoff of the participation of the private sector, led out by ARC Manufacturing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, PS Sewell. So I told you, really, today is about progress and partnership. So we started phase 1, government-driven, and now the private sector is coming on, scaling it up, going to phase 2. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, the man who leads the private sector organizations, not just one, but all of the organizations, and certainly who is endorsing this program, Mr. Keith Duncan, CD, will come to speak with us now.
Morning, everyone. Lot of familiar faces here today. Prime Minister, Right Honorable Andrew Holness, Permanent Secretary Audrey Sewell, Ministers Green and Samuda. Audrey, congratulations on your OJ. Well deserved. Well deserved. I mean, I don't know how you manage your pace. You have to give me the secret. How you manage your pace? Because this man never ever stops. You understand? You remember them? Let me start with Porsche used to run. Well, this Prime Minister here, he keeps moving. So congratulations, Audrey. Well deserved. And you have served your country well. Family, friends from the OPM, and Prime Minister, I don't want you to work. I look into the ground, please. Because he's really a private sector man, you know. And Merle, of course. Yes, Merle. But you can manage it.
Never killed our education. All those sleepless nights.
Yes. Chairman Channel. Managing Director, the special guest today, Ashley Ann Horn, along with the ARC team. Good morning. And again, thanks for the opportunity to bring remarks on the signing of this MoU, groundbreaking MoU, for the contribution of housing use to the GOJ's new social housing program. This is another public-private partnership for us all to build on. And this will serve to encourage the development of even more partnerships across the private sector, and we intend to socialize this across the private sector. Ashley has already been socializing it with me this morning and said, where is Jamie B? Well, Jamie B is on Star right now. That's where Jamie B is right now. But we will definitely take it into consideration because we believe it's an excellent, excellent program. We have members of the construction sector, members of the wider private sector that we believe would show definitely interest in this program. And I believe they have contributed in the past, but through a more formalized and structured arrangement, and the MoU has been done. So we can now build on that effort so that we can look to now bring it to members of the private sector of Jamaica. But I like to kind of put things in context. As we have achieved macroeconomic stability, we see our economy recovering quite nicely. And we have monthly meetings with all sectors, and we're seeing an underlying strength to the economy, and we're grateful for that. And we're grateful for the stewardship of the government of Jamaica and the kind of national spirit, inclusive of the opposition, that took us through COVID, now that we're now back on track as an economy, moving towards full recovery, which we expect by December 2022 to be at pre-COVID levels of GDP. Jamaica, through the leadership of the government of Jamaica and the Prime Minister, continues to build out infrastructure through roads, highways, information, communication backbone. I am very close to that, along with other strategic investments in key sectors which will enable increased connectivity and the productivity of our economy. We now see unemployment at the lowest level that we have ever seen in Jamaica. The private sector is facing a deficit in sourcing from our domestic market skilled and even unskilled labor to drive investments and growth in business, which is likely can be a ceiling on growth. So human capital development. As a country, we now need to focus on our human capital development. Not to say that we haven't focused, but we need to give it even more attention, as over 65% of our workforce have no form of certification. And as a country, the public sector plus the private sector, because the private sector does not do enough training of our workforce. We have to deepen, upskill, and train our workforce to increase the available pool to address the needs of our growing economy. This will increase value added for economy, productivity, increase wages, as the per capita income of Jamaica, which is approximately US $5,000, is probably in the lowest, or one of the lowest in our region in the lower bands, when you compare to Barbados, Trinidad, and Dominican Republic. So we look forward to the work to be done by the GOG and the Ministry of Education and Youth under the oversight of the Education Transformation Oversight Committee, as it addresses the transformation of education of our schools and the work being done now with the vocational institutions. But as we upskill, because I trust that we're going to upskill and train our workforce, we're going to require housing solutions. The existing gap is significant, and that continues to grow on an annual basis. We take note of the Prime Minister of your announcements last year of building out 70,000 affordable low-income solutions over the next 4 years, which is quite ambitious, but should go a long way in closing the gap. We commend the GOG on the development of this new social housing program, as there have been many stops and starts over the last 5 decades. We have had missteps along the way under both administrations. So this is definitely a step in the right direction. I believe private sector entities ought to support this program, because when we alleviate the inequities through providing adequate housing solutions to our citizens, this will foster equitable and inclusive growth of our economy. Supporting an initiative like this aligns greatly with our members, especially in the real estate and construction industries. However, I'd like to encourage other entities to consider their support as we uplift the most vulnerable members of our society and improve the standard of the current housing stock. I'd like to just take a minute to focus on modality 2 of the National Social Housing Policy, which speaks specifically to the relocation of vulnerable communities. Over 20% of our citizens reside in 584 squatter communities in Jamaica, with over 316 being in urban areas. Without proper infrastructure and sanitation, solid waste and sewage, the relocation of these squatter communities are an imperative for Jamaica and should be further prioritized by the GOG. We believe under this modality, the private sector, in partnership with the GOG, could play a pivotal role in addressing this national challenge, which we all face as a country, as would have positive outcomes for our citizens, including healthier living conditions, green spaces, ordered communities, reduced poverty, which is linked to crime, reduced crime levels, and as a result, we'd have happier, more productive citizens with a sense of pride in home ownership and more socially cohesive communities. There will be tremendous benefits to the GOG also, as these communities are relocated. We will see quantifiable benefits from these communities as they are formalized, integrated with private and public services, developed with green energy efficient solutions. We begin to see greater property taxes as these communities become more formalized, reduced theft of electricity, reduced costs for public health because they're living in healthier conditions, and increased economic activity and therefore greater tax revenues. So these investments will pay for themselves. But you know, we have to go run the numbers, right? Because we have a Minister of Finance there, I'm serious, right? As it relates to affordable low-income housing, the PSOJ held a forum in October last year to examine this challenge, which has existed for decades. The emerging consensus, we can use that word, the emerging consensus I was behaving bad, okay? The emerging consensus is that affordable low-income housing can be delivered at a reasonable price to this segment of the market through public-private partnerships. But this comes at a cost, because based on our low per capita income levels, we cannot get away from the fact that these solutions will have to be subsidized by the GOJ. And under modality 2, we could put private-public partnerships at the forefront to determine, to work through the formula to scale the relocation of squatter settlements. This could be delivered with the government of Jamaica provisioning large tracts of land required for scale, along with laying down the infrastructure at subsidized costs, which represents approximately 25% of the cost of housing solutions. This provision of land and infrastructure would have to be prioritized as a capital expenditure of the GOG as we continue to reduce our debt levels and create greater fiscal space. The private sector, through emerging new technologies and scale, would construct and deliver the units at agreed affordable prices to this segment of our underserved population. The NHT has creative solutions, has creative financing solutions for this segment, and have been developing, we have to acknowledge that, have been developing creative financial solutions over the last 5-6 years or so. We have seen a lot of work in that regard. And we could also work in partnership with the financial sector to further customize solutions for this segment. The PSOJ is willing to work constructively, as we have always, in partnership with the GOJ and the technical teams in developing the strategy that could fit into the national social housing policy and the implementation plan. Another area that came up within our private sector focus on low affordable housing was the national spatial plan is required at this point in time in our country's development cycle. We are aware that this has been under development and has been delayed. However, this would give all stakeholders the visibility which is very much necessary to guide national development and investment decision making. This spatial plan will identify priorities for spatial planning and development of human settlements. Under this spatial plan, a further master plan could be developed for the relocation of these squatter communities in conjunction with the political directorate, the members of parliament, etc., over a defined period in line with the GOJ's capital expenditure plan. The Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation could own the development, coordination, and execution of this plan. The National Spatial Plan is what Jamaica needs to ensure orderly development, and we're urging the GOJ to continue to and make this a reality for us all. So in conclusion, I know that I could not just come here and just congratulate. I had to come with some solutions and put solutions on the table because that's where we come from, solution-oriented. And we want to commend and congratulate our properties for leading the way as they step up to be a part of the solution. This partnership paves the way for other corporates to consider making a similar contribution through their corporate or social responsibility program. I thank you again for allowing me to share today.
Keith, thank you so much. And may I just thank you for offering yourself to lead an organization like the PSOJ. I mean, every time we have a discussion, every time you speak at a forum, you look at the problem, but you also offer solutions. And that is critical, especially when we want to move Jamaica forward. We can't just sit a problem and bellyache about the problem. We have to provide solutions. You know, ladies and gentlemen, every week you'll see the Prime Minister going across the country, handing out houses under the social housing program to deserving beneficiaries. And Jamaica is not an easy place to traverse, you know, because it has a lot of hills and valleys, peaks and troughs, side roads and by roads and walkways that you really have to go into. And a gentleman who has, his company has certainly been doing some work with the social housing program, and certainly Mr. Cargill, Senior Director at the new social housing program, is Mr. Keon Hines of Kinetic Engineering Services. And Keon is going to come and do a presentation for us. And you will see on the monitors as well some of the before and after pictures that we have of the units across the country. Keon.
Thank you, Naomi. Good morning. Even though the protocols have already been established, I would like to acknowledge the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Honorable Audrey Sewell, Mr. Keith Duncan, Ashley Ann Horn, ministers, and other esteemed guests. And I'll move into the 60 seconds that Mr. Cargill has given me to do this presentation. We will start with acknowledging the collaboration and partnership between ARC and the Kinetic Group, which includes Kinetic Engineering and Kinetic Concrete. This is a rendering outlining the proposed model that we'll be doing as our first unit. Persons may ask the question, why precast? It's not something that is new. It has been around for a while. Other persons have tried it. But who wouldn't want it fast? Who wouldn't want it more affordable? Who wouldn't want it stronger? Now, there's a common misconception that you cannot have speed with quality at a low cost. And I think with this particular model, we have found a solution where we are offering a stronger unit in a reduced time at a much lower cost than what we're currently constructing the conventional units at. Our process. Here you will see the molds being produced. They are also putting the placement of the concrete into the molds, which is a very short process. While this is being done, you can also be doing other works, other activities on the site. So it allows you to do activities simultaneously. We will now look at some strengths. As I pointed out earlier, it offers a reduced cost, a drastic reduction in the construction time, and it offers high vertical load resistance, vertical and horizontal load resistance too. So the building is basically stronger. It gives good thermal insulation. It offers excellent resistance to water absorption as compared to block wall. It also allows for, as I pointed out earlier, various tasks to be undertaken simultaneously. It is more durable, and it reduces a lot of the negative side factors that we have to deal with as contractors: the theft, the missing materials, the lazy workers, and the low output. Now, this is an interior of one of the units. That it's an open concept, so your kitchen flows into your living or your dining. And on this, I will outline a few of the weaknesses. The structure is heavier, but that's not something that is concerning to our end user, because the reality is a heavier structure it's an engineer's problem. So as long as we have designed, which we have done the models, we have done the calculations, the structure being heavier than the conventional method is not a factor that the user, the beneficiary, is much concerned about. But it is one of the weaknesses of using concrete over a block on steel. Increased need for heavy equipment, again, that's not something that the beneficiary is concerned about. But yes, you would use more equipment as compared to conventional block on steel. And it is not suitable for all terrain, the current model that we have. We are working on a solution that will allow us to put them on slopes, but currently it is more suitable for a flat area. Pardon? And it is also, as mentioned before, it is well designed. We did the calculations, we did run some models, so we are able to build up if the need arises. The opportunities from using this system. Pointed out earlier again, the potential to roll out multiple units in a short time, further reducing the delivery time of the units, the potential to reduce costs even further, and with the construction of each unit, and I know Minister Samuda will like this one, we'll be planting 2 trees to reduce. We will start by planting 2 trees and hope to move to planting 20, with the aim of reducing our. Well, that is something that we also want to discuss, a partnership with the forestry to see if these units can be provided for us to plant at each house. But the aim is to reduce our carbon footprint and to have a positive impact on sustainable development. Mr. Duncan earlier spoke about the social impact and the training. Now, what we have started so far, we have invited members from the community. As well, the video is somewhat skewed, but we have invited members from the community where we are working, and the aim is to train them in different trades: electricians, the plumbers, the masons, the carpenters. So far, we've about 14 persons that we have started training with. We're looking to move further with getting Heart on board to certify them. So for us, after hearing Mr. Duncan's presentation, I thought I may have read it. If it wasn't written in pen, I would have thought that I got a copy from somewhere. But I think this is one of the solutions to having a positive social impact. The risks are few. In comparison to traditional methods, we have the issue of when persons know that construction will go on, you see them roll out in the numbers. The persons are expecting a lot of persons in the community. You're building a 600 square foot building, you have 50, 60 persons who want work. That is a risk because now we won't necessarily need 60 persons from each community. But what we will do, we will train these persons in assembling the units, so they will have an understanding of the electricals, have an understanding of the plumbing, and then for the persons who want to be using a conventional method, they would have gotten a skill, they would have gotten training in a particular area that they can transfer to use on that other project. There's an issue of the slabs being damaged during installation, but again, this is a contractor's issue. It boils down to the engineering. It boils down to ensuring that the design is right, which we have gone through. We've done the calculations. We've done peer reviews. We've sent it to others who have reviewed it, and they have provided their comments. And I think now we have a system that works. All right, here you will see the financial analysis of the 2 and the 3 bedrooms. Currently, we're doing a 2-bedroom for the MEGJC at 6.3 million. And if you were to do that same building at market, if I were to do one for NHT, I would be doing that same building for NHT at 7.2 or probably a little bit more. With this precast system, we are able to bring the prices down to 5.6 million. That is a significant reduction. And I think, as you know, the larger the number, the greater the savings. So if you look at the 3-bedroom, we're looking at a difference of 17% savings as opposed to a 22% savings. The bigger the units, the greater the saving. The more units, the greater the saving. And with this system, as we have designed, we have priced it out, the savings are significant. If you're looking to roll out 10,000 units, as the Prime Minister has pointed out last Friday, saving $1 million off 10,000 units is a significant sum. It is indeed a significant sum. So that concludes my presentation. I'm not sure if there are any questions.
No, Keon, listen, your presentation deserves a massive round of applause. The units are coming in way cheaper, especially for the end users. That is absolutely brilliant. And it's been peer reviewed. The structure is significantly better, even though a lot of Jamaicans really into the block and steel. But this, I think, will certainly revolutionize the construction sector as well. Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed that presentation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, a woman who saw, you know, there's a saying in Jamaica, you should seek water for your dry peas. And I recall the Prime Minister was on location, it might have been rural Jamaica. It was in Kingston? But Ashley Horn drove, having heard the Prime Minister publicly give a directive to the private sector to say, come on board. She personally drove to see what the social housing program was about, to look at it, and to say straight up, sir, we are on board. That is absolutely commendable. Thank you so much, Ashley. And so here this morning is the fruit of her driving around, making sure that, yes, it fits within ARC systems, and working too with government to ensure this becomes a reality. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ms. Ashley Ann Horn to speak with us this morning.
Thank you, Naomi. Most Honorable Prime Minister Andrew Holness, Honorable Matthew Samuda, Honorable Floyd Green, Honorable Audrey Sewell, congratulations again, Madam. Distinguished guests all. This morning, on behalf of Art Properties Limited, as Managing Director, I represent the Chairman, Mr. Norman Horn, who is unavoidably absent, but sends his sincerest regards and best wishes on this august occasion. Joining me here today, we have Mrs. Charlotte Hales, Director of Art Properties and Art Manufacturing. We have Mrs. Namlet Deans from Art Manufacturing, Corporate Secretary for Art Properties, Ms. Chantel Young, Charissa Sepal, Tyrone Graham, Amelia Burton. Our key team, our ARC family, is out in full force this morning. Art Properties Limited is in the business of the acquisition, development, and management of primarily light industrial and commercial space. To date, we have approximately 700,000 square feet under management in those two business segments. In the growth and management of our portfolio, we have always fervently believed that we should work quietly, with great care, dignity, and perseverance, while making a positive contribution to the lives of all of our stakeholders, our people, our communities, and our country. However, despite this long-standing vow of commercial silence, quietude, and humility, we believe that an occasion such as this requires not only Art Properties' robust commitment to the nation, but also our robust presence to encourage our colleagues and friends to stand with us and to support the social housing program of the Prime Minister. It was his concept, and to stand with the nation as we strive to build a better Jamaica for everybody. Every company on this island has been granted a license to operate by society. And in return, we not only have a duty to conduct ourselves in a manner that upholds the tenets of ethics and morality, but we also have a patriotic duty to the country to ensure that purpose and community upliftment are always at the heart of our business operations. This fervent belief has been woven into the tapestry of Art Properties by its chairman, Mr. Norman Horn, who constantly reminds us every day that due to the emotional, physical, and financial violence of colonialism, to this day, over 90% of us as Jamaicans have no financial or social equity in the country's natural or capital assets. And we have to change that. We have to do what we can to change that. So this reality is the sole reason why we're here today. It's the sole reason why we're the first to answer the Most Honorable Prime Minister's call to the private sector to stand up with him. We are going to partner with regard to this initiative proudly, and we will do what we can to increase the construction of housing for the most vulnerable in our society under this new social housing program. At no cost to the government of Jamaica, we are patriotically proud today to be contributing to the upliftment of the Jamaican people in this manner, and we will continue to be a good Jamaican company and a sterling partner for all social and economic and national upliftment programs. We are so happy, brother. I am proud of you. Kinetic Engineering, Kinetic Concrete, Keon Hines, all the hours that we have spent with you, everything that you have done to really reduce the costs and make affordable housing truly affordable for the people who cannot afford it. Wow. I also wish to add that Kinetic is doing our first unit at cost. So I think that is truly honorable. I am proud to stand with you. We're all proud. My sister-in-law, Charlotte, would agree that if Norman, our chairman, was here today, he would be thinking in this moment of his eternal love, his mother, Miss Alice, who, as head of household with 10 children and numerous children of the community, as aunt, as mother, raised not only the children of today in her community, but the children of tomorrow. And the legacy of the family continues to do that. So this is the authentic spirit with which we have come to the table, to do what we can, to make an authentic contribution as a part of the village that must raise the child of today and tomorrow. It is therefore in Miss Alice's honor, with her goodwill in our hearts, that our first housing solution will be donated to a mother, a head of household with multi-generational dependents, whom she loves deeply. So in closing, I thank you, Most Honorable Prime Minister, for allowing us to hold your hand with regard to this initiative, for guiding us, for piloting us. And of course, I must invite our private sector. I believe I see Barita Cornerstone right there, and some other truly sterling companies. And of course, I really encourage JMMB again, because it's easy as JMMB to join us, to participate, to meet with Mr. Richard Cargill before you leave. And even if it is a half a unit or 1 unit, or Art Manufacturing, your building materials specialist, will definitely subsidize those material costs. Correct, Director Hornhales. So I thank you all on behalf of Art Properties for being here, and we will work with you assiduously, hand to hand, heart to heart. Thank you.
Ashley, thank you so much for that very passionate presentation. And it shows that so many Jamaicans are interested in the business of ensuring that we have a better Jamaica. So thank you once again, ARC. You know, this morning she's not slated to speak, but a very special lady is here with us, and I just want to have her stand so that we can acknowledge her because she is the recipient, the beneficiary. Ms. Sidon Eldemeyer, if you could, our beneficiary with us this morning. Thank you so much, and we do appreciate the fact that you are here, and congratulations on being the beneficiary. And so, ladies and gentlemen, our keynote presentation will be given by Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. You know, the Prime Minister always say, if he had the choice to do it perfectly or to do something, he would do something. He really believes in consistent, positive action. And today I told you that we're here to talk about progress, partnership, and development. This project certainly shows his commitment to progress, partnership, and development. And so, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the transformational man, the Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness.
Thank you very much, Naomi. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. In February of this year, whilst handing out, inappropriate term, whilst handing over the keys to a social housing unit, I believe it was in northeast St. Andrew, eastern St. Andrew. I believe it is in both constituencies I made the call for private sector to come on board and assist, because the magnitude and scale of the problem would be far greater than the resources of government to bring it to heal in a short period of time. And we're very happy to see ARC Properties coming on board. I'm almost overcome with emotion to see the call being answered. So, Ashley, again, let me say thanks to you for your good corporate citizenship, and I hope the others feel badly about it. But you are the pioneer in this area, and I'm very pleased I'm very pleased. And it does speak well for Jamaica. The truth is that our private sector, our civil society, has been very active in treating with social issues. And I have the chairman of the PSOJ here, and I hope he feels badly a little bit as well. But I can't blame him too much, because as he said, he is quite engrossed in his own project, Project Star, which is taking off and shining a bright light on many depressed communities and some of the social problems that we have. So we understand he's carrying a heavy burden. But I'm also seeing here in the audience Barita Cornerstone, and I'm hopeful that we will be signing an MoU sometime. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe. And I'm sure that there are others who will hear the call and respond. I want to acknowledge, however, that the NHD has contributed significantly to this program. I believe the NHD has given over $300 million. PS, that would be accurate?
Yes, they have pledged 5.
They have pledged 5 to this program. And it is well used. So I want to also commend the NHD for their support for this program. So I start at that point because it is important that the country understands what it is that we are trying to do and who are the stakeholders who are partnering with us. So we have said a lot about social housing, but we haven't really defined what is social housing. So social housing is the provision of shelter to qualified beneficiaries as part of a social safety net mechanism to ensure that a minimum standard of shelter is guaranteed in the society. So you could consider this part of our social safety net. So it is like PATH, where we are ensuring that there is a minimum standard of nutrition. We are ensuring that children can get a minimum access to education. So it's part of our social safety net. And that safety net sets the minimum that anyone in the society, the minimum standard that anyone in the society should live at. We don't always meet it, and there are many who are outside of the social safety net. How do you therefore get people into the social safety net? That's a big question that has to be answered. And to get people into the social safety net, firstly, we need to document them. Because whenever we're going to give anything, we need to be able to identify the beneficiary. So identification is a very important part of the establishment of a social safety net. The government went through a long and arduous period in trying to ensure that we do have a process of identifying all Jamaicans so that we can create a social safety net that is effective. So if you talk about the PATH program, a large part of it is about identifying the beneficiary and their needs, identification. In the social safety net for social housing, the beneficiary has to be properly identified. Now, I was in St. Ann over the weekend, and I was talking to someone who said that she was in a nail parlor, and her nail technician saw a program on television with me handing over the house. And she said, bet you I'm friend get it. Bet you are somebody who knows somebody. There is obviously this, residual mistrust of government programs, this suspicion that there is nepotism and favoritism involved in a social program. We know that that is how Jamaicans think, and therefore we went to great lengths to ensure that the people who are benefiting are genuinely in need, that nobody could say that the beneficiary only got it because of who they know. So for this program, the Permanent Secretary explained that the members of Parliament receive applications for housing, and they receive it almost on a daily basis. Sometimes they have, 300 applicants. My wife is a member of parliament. She tells me, she has close to, 500 people who have asked for social housing. I can't even tell you the amount that I get, right? The very day I was handing out a house in St. Ann, the next day there was an article appearing in the paper of someone in my constituency who was clearly in need of social housing, which tells you that it is not a favoritism business. It's, we genuinely try to spread it right across the island. But more than that, we have put in place an oversight committee, which is led by our our principal financial officer. And that is to ensure that the project meets the requirements of the FAA, the Housing Act, and all the procurement guidelines and all the rules. So I listened carefully to the PSOJ president who said, we have tried this before and there have been missteps. Well, Mr. President, there is no misstep in this one. You will never hear any complaints about improper procurement, any form of corruption, any misdirection of resources or favoritism. You're not going to hear that about this program. We have built in every protection to make sure that the program is integrous and that there is, people can have faith in the program. And once they can have faith in the program, then it builds hope. And one of the beautiful things about the program is that when we go to hand over the keys, and I survey the faces in the audience, I can see that there are others there who are saying, boy, I wish if it was me, because I need a house too. Many, many, many persons are there thinking that, and it is coming through their eyes, and some even said, when am I going to get it? But no one has said that the beneficiary doesn't deserve it. They might feel a little jealous, but they are not envious. They might feel a little sad that they are not getting it, but they are happy that the person who was selected is getting it. And that speaks volume to the process of beneficiary identification. So once we identify, coming up through the members of parliament, then the oversight committee takes over and goes and investigates to make sure that the person who is selected genuinely deserves it. And it is that gives confidence to the program. So that people will say, I will therefore invest my trust in the program and I will be patient until my turn comes, because the people who are getting it are genuinely in need. But let me, switch from speaking about it in general terms to some specifics. The program is targeted to beneficiaries or households who earn minimum wage or less, or they earn no income at all. They are unemployed. So this is what you would consider to be an income contingent subsidy. Governments give subsidy for all kinds of reasons. But the best way to give a subsidy is to make it income contingent, meaning that if you are not earning any income, then you genuinely should get the subsidy. Because if you think about what a subsidy is, the subsidy is a transfer, a grant from the government to enable you to afford consumption. People with income have consumption ability. People without income generally don't. So for government to be efficient in its subsidies, you usually want to tie your subsidy to the income of the beneficiary. So if you're going to be fair, people who earn less income should get more subsidies, and people who earn more income get less subsidies, right? And that is what the government is doing generally with all its subsidies across the board. We are making them specific and targeted to beneficiaries who we have identified, and we are making sure that people who have more income don't get more subsidy, because that is unfair. Unfortunately, many subsidies that government gives are hidden. You don't even know that they are subsidies. And because people who are already earning get subsidies, you exacerbate inequality in the society. Now, these are very complex things that I can't explain them all in a 5-minute or a 10-minute presentation. But I've just explained to you the principle behind why the NHD has decided to make its benefits income contingent. In spite of the nonsense you see circulating on social media, it is well grounded in good, solid economics that will ensure that the poor gets the benefit. But there will be more said. There will be more said. We're targeting households who cannot qualify for a mortgage. So if you're thinking about equity, so everybody's talking about, oh, we're changing the NHD, and so let me ask you a question. What about those people who can't get a benefit from the NHD? How are they treated in the overall context? This is how they are treated. You have to make the NHD more efficient in its expenditure and use of funds so that it can deal with the market where people can get a mortgage. But at the same time, as we are taking funds from the NHD, I've just said the NHD is contributing to this project. But we can't be taking from the NHD and the NHD is not efficient in the use of its funds, because that will impair the NHD. So we have to get the NHD to be efficient in the use of its funds, so that if it contributes to programs that are not contributor accessed, then it doesn't impair them. And I really hope that the people who are trying to tear down the NHD understand that all we are trying to do is to build up the NHD, make it strong, make it robust, make it be able to deliver the 43,000 of the 70,000 houses without a collapse of the NHD. You said it, Mr. President, it is ambitious. We don't hang our hats where we know we can reach it. We are going to stretch. And we have set an ambitious target, and the NHD is doing an amazing job in delivering it. We don't hear any criticisms of the NHD about inappropriate use of funds, which was the common theme a few years ago. What you now hear is that the NHD is reforming its operations to be able to better serve its customers. So this program, the new social housing program, is designed to deal with those persons who are unemployed, they have no income, and therefore they couldn't qualify for a mortgage. They have no means. But the moral standard of our society, which aligns with our social safety net, is that there is a minimum standard of housing that people should be living in. As you cast your eyes on the pictures in front of you, that's the standard that many Jamaicans are living in presently. I can't tell you that I have the exact statistic as to the number of Jamaicans who are living in substandard housing conditions, but there will be a census which starts on the 12th, and I urge all Jamaicans to participate in the census. It is not just a count of bodies, it is also a count of the shelter and the standard and state of the shelter that you live in. From the requests that we get from MPs, we can extrapolate that there would be probably about 6,000 persons who live right across the country, households rather, that live in these conditions. But it could be more, because not everyone is going to go to their MPs to ask for assistance. So what we have looked at the requests that come into the Ministry of Housing. We have taken what we get from the MPs, but they might be going to their churches, and so we really don't know. But we're going to target an amount of about 10,000 houses solutions under the social housing aspect of the 70,000. Now, there is a unique dynamic to this 10,000 units. Number one, we would not be able to build them as housing schemes because the persons are residing all over the country. So a part of the qualification to get onto this is that this new social housing program is that we're looking for persons whose housing structure, so they are living at a point already, but they would have permission to live on the land that they presently occupy. So they do have a structure, they do have land, but they just don't have the proper shelter. And so what this program has been doing is when we select the beneficiary, we say to them, formalize the occupancy agreement that you have. And all the people who have benefited so far have been successful in getting either a long-term lease or a deed of gift for the little plot that they are on. And that has been very useful in reducing the cost of the actual structure because the land part of it is taken care of. So they bring to the table the land portion of this housing development. We are also looking to support families, and just to be clear, on the land part of it, it means that the beneficiary must be documented. So we can't just take up a house and give it to somebody who we don't know, who is not properly documented. So you have to get registered for your TRN. You know, you have to be able to enter into a contractual agreement. So the program is well structured and well designed. We're also seeking to assist families, you know, large households, persons who have indigent or disabled members of their families, households with children of school age. And so those are the beneficiaries that we are targeting under the new social housing program. Now, already we have built approximately 89 units thereabout. And it has been a great experience because we started out taking a year to build one unit. And we have had experiences with that pace where some units have taken us a year and 3 months, and we have now refined the process to where we are building a unit in 6 to 8 weeks sometimes. All right? So we are learning as we go along and refining our process so we can scale up. When we started out, some of our units were 8 and 9 million. Some even went up to 10. Now, as you can see, the prices are coming down nicely, 6 and 7, and we're going to get to 5 and 4. And I'm still of the view that we can deliver a 1-bedroom unit for 3 to 3.5. I'm still of that view, so we're going to work towards it. Now, the beauty of the project is having garnered the experience and refine the processes, we can now scale up the learning. And a part of scaling up is getting more partners on board. Once the private sector realizes that the project is integrous, meaning that the risk of association, the reputational risk of association is very limited, non-existent, then it's easy for the private sector to say, I would associate my brand with this project. It is transparent, it's well run, and you can only get a positive gain from it. Once they realize that the project embraces innovation, and what you can see here as explained is innovation. Now, innovation doesn't mean that you're coming with something new. What it means is that you're applying old technology to solve new problems. And that's what we're doing here with Kinetic. and ARC Properties. We're going to use a different building system. You might have to tweak it, change it to apply it to the circumstance, but there is innovation taking place, and this program wants innovation. We want to see new building systems, new materials, new design. In fact, we sponsored a design competition, which is going to, many of the designs are now used in the buildings that we're doing now. So we want to see more innovation, and so I commend Kinetic for taking that approach, the innovation to reduce the cost. So the more partners we get on board, the greater it is that we can fulfill this 10,000 housing solutions for those people in the market, for those persons who are not in the housing market, meaning that they have no income and therefore could not qualify for a mortgage and therefore would not be the customer base of the NHT. But the NHT is still subsidizing that base which is not a contributor base, because it is giving a grant to this program. So in effect, you know, the NHT is not trying to take away money from poor people or prevent poor people. What the NHT is doing is trying to become more efficient so that it can, in a more structured way, deliver these benefits to the people who actually need it the most. Remember what I said. What is the fairest way of delivering a subsidy? Is to get it to the people who have no income. So if people have income, then really the subsidy should be less than the people who have no income. The problem that we have in the society is that we are not all wanting to look across all sectors and elements and groups of the society and say, let us have a really fair distribution of the resources of the country. We're all very stuck in looking at what is my group getting, what is my socio-economic group getting, when we have to be looking right across the board for a fairer mechanism of delivering subsidies. And that's all we've been trying to do as a government. When we put in NIDS, that's what it was about. It's about being able to properly identify beneficiaries. When we are saying we have to make the interest rates income contingent for subsidies, that's all we're trying to do. Trying to find a fairer way of directing subsidies to the people who actually need it. I hope today has been an enlightenment to the country and to the persons whose sworn mission is to destroy good policy. You know, nothing is wrong with criticism, but it is really destructive when people set out to destroy. And I must say that in the discourse about the NHT, I can only conclude that there are persons who have set out to destroy. But I will not stand by and allow that to happen. I will always be front and center to take on all the arguments and the false narratives that are being created. Because that's the only way that we're going to move forward as one country, solid on a program of progress and prosperity. So I'm hoping to see others come on board. Sydney is the beneficiary. Sydney is from my constituency, and it is not about any past and christening his child. That's not the case. Sydney's application was up for consideration, and the oversight committee looked at it. I won't go into Sydney's personal circumstances, but you would see her compelling present shelter circumstances displayed on the screen. But her personal circumstances and where she lives also, you know, qualified her. We have 161 units now in construction in different phases all across the island. I have said to the social housing team that it is not my intention to do 1-1. I think we can now do 10-10. So we did 6. We did 6 last week. So I've said last week Friday. So I've said to them, I'm going to be off the island so for a few days. So I won't be able to do any of this. But the next time that we're handing over, we want to do about 10. And so it's little by little, 10 by 10, 20 by 20, and we chip away at that 10,000. But we really now, we need to get to the stage where we are doing 1,000 or 2,000 a year. Right? Because if you think about it, it would take a decade to remove that kind of shelter from our society. But let's start. Let's get it done. Let's look at the glass as being filling up rather than looking at the glass as being empty. Right? It's the perception, it's the perspective, it's the narrative, it's the positive and hopeful spirit that is going to prevent economic agents from thinking negatively and create a recession in our country. But when people think positively, that becomes the self-fulfilling prophecy, and our economy will grow. The president of the PSOJ understands what I'm saying, that negative news does affect economic behavior, and so too does positive news. And so we have to keep putting out the positive. It is really a surprise to me that no one celebrates that the country has grown by 5.7%. It's not front page, and that should be blazoned on the front page of every newspaper. Nobody is saying, wow, 6% unemployment, the lowest ever in our history. Nobody that's not being celebrated. It is as if people relish in bad news. When the truth is, good things are happening, but it's the duty of the government to keep putting the good things in front of the people so that they can maintain hope and maintain a positive outlook. We know not everything is great. There are challenges, but we are overcoming them little by little. God bless you, and thank you.
Prime Minister, thank you so much for your presentation. Steady, consistent, positive action definitely leads to change. And the whole program is not just about the physical aspect we see. It really does impact the psyche, the outlook of people in terms of putting forward their best foot and being positive indeed. So thank you so much, Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Cargill, who is the Senior Director of the new Social Housing Program, has done a brilliant job because, branding is so important. And sometimes you have to wear what you believe. And so our partners, as part of the partnership, Richard has ensured that we all know it. The HOPE program, CAP, the HOPE program and Kinetic Engineering Services Limited and ARC emblazoned on it, certainly before you leave, will ensure that you have one of these caps as well. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the signing that we are here for. May I invite the Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, our Permanent Secretary, the Honorable Audrey Sewell, Mrs. Ashley Horn, also Mrs. Charlotte Horn-Haynes, and Mr. Keon Hines to come forward. Yes, Prime Minister, you sit as well. So, Charlotte, you're witnessing with Ashley. Keith, you're just witnessing everything as private sector. Keon, please. P.S., you're also seated. So, Keon, you sit right there. Right here, yes. And the ministers, of course, along with Mr. Duncan, will witness our signing this morning. For the photographers, you have to be mindful of the cameras in particular at the back. So we ask that you be nice. And Richard is ensuring as well that our signatories have a white cap along with the documents to be signed as well. Very good, Richard. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have the signing. Again, the Permanent Secretary signing, the Prime Minister witnessing, and Mrs. Ashley Horn. P.S., you can start. You are signing on behalf of the government. Well, indeed. So you may be able to, as the photographers, do the photo. So again, P.S. Sewell, P.S. Sewell signs on behalf of government. The Prime Minister witnesses. Mrs. Ashley Horn signs on behalf of ARC. Mrs. Charlotte Horn Haynes witnesses. And Keon Hines will, of course, sign on behalf of Kinetic Engineering. And the first signatories are done, so they've exchanged documents. And one more exchange. All right. Yes. Very good. Yes, Keon, sign. Very good. All right. And so upon the end of all documents being signed, we will ask the Prime Minister and Mrs. Horn, Mrs. Ashley Horn, to officially exchange documents. And the documents will be sealed. JP sealed, right, Piers? No, not JP. The organizations will certainly have their seal on each. All right. The Prime Minister also does a symbolic signing of the White Hope hat with all partners. That is very good, Prime Minister, ensuring that this occasion will last in our memories as well. And when you have on your hat, you will have the Prime Minister's signature on it. So for all those seated, signing, that's the Prime Minister's John Hancock. And so in front, Prime Minister, of the signing table, may I invite just to do the symbolic exchange of documents, while we have the other signatories also being there witnessing, and the ministers, if you could, come forward as well. So we'll have just one, including Mr. Duncan, just have one big photo. All right, as they organize to have the official photo. Signaling the start of what we will consider a beautiful partnership with the private sector and ARC Systems, in particular on this occasion, heralding the private sector component now of the HOPE project, the new social housing component, and we again hope many other private sector entities would get on board. Well, the Prime Minister says one private sector entity per week. Well, let's see. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it is just left for us to say thank you so much for coming with us. Mr. Keon Hines has indicated that because he has such a wonderful presentation, if you have any questions, please, you can go up to him and have him answer any questions. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. It's indeed been a very, very good morning, a morning of progress, partnership, and development. Have a good day. See you next time.